everyone. Public speaking is a great art and an important skill for anyone who wants to excel well in their life. Public speaking is a very sought after skill. I mean, the most desired and useful skill for the working class, company executives, managers, basically for everyone. To learn public speaking skills, we have two very eminent personalities, two experienced academicians who do good community service for the greater good of the students' community and public at large. I'll be raising a few questions to the both of them to get their expert opinion for enabling all of you to become excellent public speakers yourselves. In the first episode, we learned how to get started on delivering public speeches. And in the second episode, we learned how to deliver informative speeches. In today's session, we will be learning how to deliver motivational speeches. So gear up and take some notes that would be useful for you. Shall we get started? Dr. George, what is a motivational speech?
Good evening, Basreen. A motivational speech is a speech someone delivers before an audience. The primary intention of the speaker is to motivate the audience members to take a specific type of action. For example, if I were a motivational speaker, I choose to deliver a speech in front of a group of students. Well, I'm going to certainly talk about the importance of discipline, or let us say the importance of punctuality. So I need to just come up with a little story as to how punctuality enables all of us to be successful in our lives. So while doing so, my primary intention is to make sure that the students follow my point of view. All right. In other words, I should gently persuade them through my motivational strategies to adopt my viewpoint. If I succeed in doing that, I am a motivational speaker. So primarily there are two types of motivation, positive motivation and negative motivation, just like carrot and stick policy. If you tell a child that you will reward that child for doing something good, it's a positive motivation. At the same time, if the teacher says, well, I'm going to punish you if you don't do that, this is the negative motivation. But now we're not talking about these negative things here. We are concerned about positive motivation. So a positive motivation is possible in public speaking. Did I answer your question?
Yes, you did. So Dr. George, why do people deliver motivational speeches? What's the purpose behind it?
Well, the sole purpose of delivering motivational speeches is to get the audience members to do something that is necessary, that's a need at the hour. For example, I'm a teacher by profession. I have a group of students who constantly come in late and they want to leave early. They end up losing a lot of the real time, teaching time. So I get ready to deliver a short motivational speech to them. I just come up with a little story and make them understand the importance of coming on time and leaving on time. And here, if I don't just motivate the students through a little speech, probably there will be so many chronic absentees or latecomers in due course of time. And similarly, if you want to just reach out to the community and talk to people in general about the importance of community living in harmony and so on, all you need to do is just to motivate them. It is just like lighting a little spark, which will turn out to be a blazing fire. So if you want the audience members to do something that you want them to do, then all you need to do is add some motivation or deliver a truly motivating speech.
All right.
Is that okay?
Thank you for that. Yes, that's perfectly fine. Dr. Peer, I have a question for you. Why is a motivational speech important?
Okay, Basrin, you are asking why motivational speech is important. Let me tell you, about a business point of view. Dr. George beautifully explained about what is a motivational speech. Okay, and I hope the audience might have understood. So let me explain from the industry point of view and business point of view. And can you answer to my question? The employees are working in a company. Do you know how many people, what is the percentage of people happy in working? Any idea? Any guess?
Probably less.
Yeah, how much? Tell me for your guess.
No idea.
Okay, anyway, as per the Gallup, poll, it says that around only 85% of the people are unsatisfied, are not happy with their work. Only 15% are satisfied with their work. So what does that show? People, they are not happy in their working. So the role of the manager is to motivate. The role of a leader is to motivate his team. So when people are working in a situation like this, around 85% people are not happy, are not satisfied with their job. So it is a total disaster for the business. So it is the role of the team lead, the leader, to motivate the followers or his teams. Okay, so what they should do, they should try to overcome the shyness, the fear, and inequality and inferiority complex among the employees. And also a motivational speech, as Dr. George beautifully defined, will instill confidence among your teammates. It will bring in positivity. It will bring in optimism, and also it will people put in the positive light and positive frame of mind. So what does that result in? So this kind of positivity, this kind of motivational speech brings in a lot of life in the people to work more productively. As a result, more profit for the company. And you can understand that is the importance of motivational speech.
Okay. Well, thank you for that answer. I want to follow up with another question.
Yeah,
Do
please.
you need to be motivated yourself in order to give a motivational speech?
Certainly, yes. Yeah, only if you are motivated, you can motivate others. Simple.
Okay, that makes sense. Dr. George, what are the key elements of a motivational speech?
Well, I think during the last talk show, we discussed some of the important elements of a speech.
Right.
And in a motivational speech, primarily there are three elements. The first one is a little bit of inspiration and emotional experience. These are very important, a little bit of inspiration and emotional experience. And secondly, there should be a strong story, because stories usually connect and stories are sticking also. And thirdly, a way or ways of thinking differently. Okay, a motivational speaker shares with the audience members different ways of thinking, just like thinking laterally, thinking out of the box, whatever it may be, thinking differently. And last but not the least, the speaker's credibility. For example, I'm addressing a group of high school graduates. I'm emphasizing the importance of not smoking or quitting smoking, but I'm a smoker myself. Do I have the credibility to drive home a particular point like this? No, I don't. So, to sum up, there should be a true story, a story that is credible, that connects easily, a little bit of inspiration and emotional experience, and a way or ways of thinking differently, and last but not the least, the speaker's credibility. These are the four basic elements of a motivational speech.
All right. And what is the structure of a motivational speech?
Well, the structure, as you know, is as follows. For example, the speaker starts off with his opening remarks during that time, and he has to just make a point. Make a point during your introductory remarks, then slowly move into the body of the speech where tell a story to convince the audience of the point that you are trying to get across to. The story should be very compelling. A compelling story always works wonders. And finally, you need to conclude your speech very powerfully, reinstating the main message, leaving the audience members completely motivated to buy into your point of view. So to sum up, make a point during your introductory remarks, then tell a story which is compelling, credible, and interesting. And last, you need to leave the audience members completely motivated by re-emphasizing and reinforcing the main message. So this is how you need to structure the speech into 3 different parts.
Okay, that was very beautifully explained. Thank you, Dr. George. Dr. Peer, I have a question for you. In what way is a motivational speech different from the other kinds of speeches?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. Well, you are asking about the ingredients for a great motivational speech. By the way, this is not a cooking class. Anyway, let me explain in detail about what are the requirements for a motivational speech, and what are the elements, and what are the ingredients required for a great motivational speech. To explain more in detail, let me share the screen so that you can understand better. So what you see here, these are the elements for preparing a great motivational speech. The first one, the number 1 element is the topic. Your topic should be attractive. It should be attractive enough to entice the entire audience. Number 2, you must determine your purpose. What is your purpose? Your purpose should be specific. And the third one is the audience, analyzing the audience, the profile. What is their age? What is their educational background? What are their jobs? And what do they do? All these things comes into picture. And then number 4 is the most important thing, gathering information from various sources, from your known source, from the internet, from the library. And the next one comes preparing presentation aids. The most easiest thing to prepare some kind of presentation aid is the PowerPoint presentation. And if you have some access to some videos or some other kind of visual media, you can use that. Then the 6th one is organizing your speech. Your speech should be well structured. And the last one is delivery of your speech. These are the things you have to focus your attention to prepare a great motivational speech. And the next important thing is, as I already explained to you before, the structure, substance, and senses of your speech should have these elements. What are they? Your purpose should be very clear, and your expression, there should be a clarity of expression in your speech, and your speech should be consistent. And all the information that you give should be correct and concrete. Your speech should be complete, and whenever you are speaking, speak courteously, and there should be your speech should be compassionate. So that is the most important thing. When you are speaking, there should be a connection between you and the audience. Be always compassionate and also passionate in your speech. And the last one, conciseness. Make your speech as brief as possible.
Dr. George, can you share an example of speaking to motivate?
Why not? I usually wake up in the morning, and the first thing I'm doing every morning is to motivate my wife. Okay? And how do I motivate? I simply tell her, well, the coffee that you made was delicious. Jokes apart. I'm just joking, I'm just kidding. Well, a couple of months ago, I had an opportunity to address a group of high school students. I chose to speak on the importance of handling failures. You know, among their students, especially high school graduates, there are many who are unable to handle failures. They think if they fail a test or an exam, they think that that's the end of the world. But I just pitched in, I offered to deliver a speech in an event organized by a group of people who are committed to community service, particularly to empowering the youth, the students of Jubail community. So it worked, and they were convinced, and they bought into my point of view. And they learned, at least they expressed their desire to handle failures. So there are many topics that you can choose to speak on if you are really keen on motivating the audience members.
All right. But can a speaker read out his speech if he's trying to motivate the audience?
Well, politicians around the world are seen reading out speeches, but we are not politicians. We are really motivational speakers. So a motivational speaker, I think, should avoid reading from a piece of paper. What he has to do, he has to internalize the points. Once he has given a structure to his speech, and he should just rehearse and internalize. Well, as I told early on, if he forgets an idea to share with the audience members, he can take a quick look at the points. But reading from a piece of paper, reading a text is not a good idea. Always you should enjoy delivering the speech. And for that purpose, the need of the hour is passion. If he's passionate about delivering a motivational talk, I think he or she doesn't need to just look at the paper. Reading is not a good idea. I wouldn't agree.
All right. Thank you, Dr. George. Dr. Peer, how do you make sure that you have successfully motivated the audience at the end of your speech? How do you know that they are motivated?
Before you move on to Dr. Peer Muhammad, let me also chip in giving you another point that a speaker, a motivational speaker, has to live a speech. You know, speaking is different from living. Delivering a speech is different from living a speech. So he should learn to live the speech for his audience members to be convinced. Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you. Dr. Peer, how do you make sure that you have successfully motivated the audience at the end of the speech? How do you know that they've been motivated?
Okay, it's a very interesting question. I mean, it's very important too. When you are delivering a speech, you must sense the pulse of the audience. Okay, by close observation of the audience, their mood, and you can gauge that, and very easily you can understand. And one another way, the simple way, as Dr. George rightly told, be passionate about your speaking. So when you are passionate, naturally the audience will be with you, and that is a simple technique. Yes.
Okay, and which audience do you think requires to be motivated the most?
Well, that is another interesting question you are asking, which audience. Mostly the simple straightforward question is the students, you know, the learners. We have to focus our attention to motivate them. Even the child, they needs a lot of, you know, motivation. And but not the last, the woman, you know, they are the target of the entire media and the corporate world. The woman also needs a lot of motivation, a lot of guidance by the motivational speakers, because most of the corporate world, they target by advertisement the women and the children. So they need a lot of guidance from this kind of motivational speaker to be more aware of these kind of things.
Okay. Dr. George, could you share your experience of delivering motivational speeches?
Certainly. I think a couple of years ago, I was invited to deliver a motivational speech to a group of people. They were all elderly people, about 60. And some of them just ceased to be active just because of their age. And there I delivered the right speech of the importance of being active. A person can retire from work, but he doesn't need to be, you know, inactive during the retired life. There are multiple things to do. And in this case, you know, I just remember George Bernard Shaw's powerful quote that we stop playing not because we are or we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing. And that connected and resonated with the audience members instantly. Just because you reach 60, don't think that you are useless and invalid. You have a long way to go before you sleep. So they have no reason to be inactive. Life begins, the second phase of a real life begins at 60. When I gave this quote in support of my argument, main argument, they were convinced, they were very happy. I told them to dance. I told them to run. I told them to go jogging. So they agreed. That was my, the positive response from the elderly people was really very good. I thoroughly enjoyed experiencing that mood and atmosphere.
By the way, Dr. George, age is, it's about mindset.
Exactly.
Yeah, how old depends upon how you feel.
Exactly. That's what I shared with, I told them also.
Yeah. Over to Basrin.
Dr. George, do you think it's important to bring in quotes to support the speaker's point of view?
Absolutely. Sometimes, as a speaker, you need to establish your credibility. Whatever you say should be reinforced with a parallel story. You may come up with a little story, probably a personal story, to motivate a group of people, but that may not enough. That may not be enough. Audience members are constantly looking for some proof. So the speaker has to substantiate his main line of argument by bringing in some powerful quotes. For instance, as I told you a little earlier, we stop playing not because we grow old, we grow old because we stop playing. These are the golden lines said by George Bernard Shaw. And similarly, when I talked about the importance of handling cheerfully failures, I just brought in the quote by Sir Winston Churchill, a renowned politician and writer. The quote goes like this: failures are not permanent. Failures are not fatal. Failures are not permanent, and failures are not fatal. And the same gentleman once said, success is not permanent, and failures are not fatal. The main message here is that nothing is going to be permanent. Life is in a flux. It keeps changing. Failure becomes success, and success becomes failure in the cycle of life. So it's always a good idea to bring in some powerful quotes in order to substantiate your main idea and the main line of argument.
True, I agree with that. Thank you for that insightful answer. Dr. Peer, what is the role of motivational speeches in business?
Okay, you are asking about the role of motivational speech in business. Before that, let me supplement to my colleague, my friend, Dr. George, what he spoke about, quotes. Even I myself, like all the nice quotations by all the great people. So let me share some screen sharing to support my colleague, Dr. George. I have beautiful quotes to Dr. George. Let me show this screen share it. Dr. George very beautifully explained about the importance of using quotations. Let me produce before you some of the great people's quotes. And the first one is the heavyweight boxing champion, Muhammad Ali. And he says that I will show you how great I am. It's highly inspiring. So the motivational speaker can use such a great quotes like this. It will inspire the audience. The next one is from Will Smith, a Hollywood actor. He says, wake up positive, face your fears. Very meaningful. If you overcome your fears, you will become very positive. And the next quote is from Steve Jobs. It's highly inspiring. He says that think big, dream big, have a big vision to have big success. If you want to become successful, have a big vision and a great dream. Next one is from Mr. Ratan Tata. What he says is very meaningful. Ups and downs in life are very important to keep us going, because straight line even in an ECG, means we are not alive. Beautiful lines. The next quote is from APJ Abdul Kalam, our former president of India. What he says is about a dream. Dream is not what you see in sleep. Dream is something which doesn't let you sleep. The next quote is from Nelson Mandela. The greatest glory in living lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. Very motivating. And Mother Teresa, she says that reach high, for stars lie hidden in your soul. Very meaningful. Dream deep, for every dream precedes the goal. So these kind of quotes from big people and great people will give some kind of value to your talk, value to your motivational speech. You can use such quotations in your speech. So let me explain what is the importance of motivational speech in business. If you look into all the big companies, big corporations, the CEO, the top boss of these companies, if you analyze, they are the big leaders. They are the great motivational speakers. They keep the companies by motivating their teams, their managers, the board of directors. This is how the company is functioning. So motivational speech is important for the life of the business.
And does motivational speech bring any benefit to your business?
Certainly it is. It is the life of, every business. If you see the manager, why they are managers? Because of the leadership qualities. What is the leadership qualities? It is their motivational speech, how they motivate their teams on day-to-day basis.
All right. Okay. Dr. George, do we need any videos and visuals while delivering a motivational speech?
Well, they are not inevitable. People can deliver motivational speeches without videos and audio clips and visuals and so on. However, if they think that these videos and video clips and audio clips can really help them reach out to the audience, why not? They can use, but they should be very cautious about one thing. Now, these days, some of the motivation speakers just focus more upon the aids or the visuals and videos and audio tracks. For example, recently I just happened to be in one of the Toastmasters meetings where a motivational speaker, had a huge LED screen in the backdrop, and there was a lot of music and very eye-catching, attention-grabbing visuals. But the audience members at the end of the day should not focus more on the visuals and videos. They should focus on the speaker. It's the speaker who matters much more than the visuals and videos. So the bottom line is, if visuals and videos really help the speaker drive home the point, get the point across to the audience members, it's okay. But it should be limited to the barest minimum. Say, for example, 10 to 15% of the total talk time should be devoted to presenting visuals and videos. And the rest of the time, it's a speaker who has to connect with the audience members. This is my take on this.
I have a follow-up question about the visuals. When you're showing a video, do you think it makes a difference when we show the video in the beginning or the middle or the end? Which one do you think is more impactful? During what part of the speech or stage of the speech should we show a visual?
Exactly. That's a good question. And especially when the speaker reaches a point where he's going to just share with the audience members something very significant. I can say the most important part of the speech. Right after that, it may be simply sharing the message, etc. Especially when he shares the story in the motivational speech. The video comes in handy, and the speaker can make use of the video or an audio clip or a couple of visuals. Okay, remember, so the speaker has to remember that when he or she reaches a critical point, the most important part of the story, and he or she can use the visuals. But if you just turn on the visuals, turn on the video right at the beginning, people's attention will be right on the videos and visuals. That shouldn't happen, okay? Where that part of the speech that poses a little challenge to the comprehension, in order to facilitate easy comprehension, a video or a visual can be used. Not every time.
All right. And what is your advice to aspiring motivational speakers? Okay.
My simple advice is no, they should just watch some videos, some motivational speeches. They should listen to speakers motivating other people, and all they need, then they should practice. Watch, practice, listen, practice, listen and practice. Certainly, this will be my advice to the aspiring motivation speakers.
Dr. George, what is your advice to aspiring motivational speakers?
Well, these days there are hundreds of young people who would like to be motivational speakers. Some of them would like to make a living out of delivering motivational speeches. And for them, I have a piece of advice. First, they should watch some videos on motivation speeches, or they should listen to some audio tracks on motivational speeches. And when it is their turn, what they need to do is select a subject matter. That's very important. And then right after that, he or she has to just choose a compelling story. And the story should be preferably personal story in order to gain some credibility. And last but not the least, they should practice, practice, and practice at least 100 times. Practice makes perfect, everybody knows. So first, watch videos on motivational talks and speeches, listen to some audio tracks, even they can listen to some great personalities delivering speeches, and then they should select a story and a theme. The story should be very compelling, credible, and preferably personal. And if they do all these things, they will become certainly very promising public speakers, motivation speakers. This is my simple advice.
All right. I hope that's useful for all the aspiring motivational speeches. Dr. Peer, is interacting with the audience necessary when you deliver motivation speeches?
Can you repeat the question?
Is interacting with the audience really necessary when you're delivering a motivational speech?
Yeah, it depends. I mean, if you are interactive, what is concerned is that it depends upon the size of the audience. If the audience size is small, of course, you can be more interactive, and that is advisable. And if the size is medium, you can maintain a balance. If it's a large audience, perhaps you may lose your control. The speaker's control may be lost. So if it's a very large audience, you may prefer the role of a kind of lecture style, speaking, rather than be more interactive. It may create some kind of commotion and confusion. So it depends upon the size of the audience.
Yeah, but do you feel that interacting with the audience makes a difference? Is there an effective
yes, please.
role?
You want to supplement?
Yeah. And to add to what Dr. Peer Muhammad just mentioned, it's always a good idea to engage the audience members. In other words, keep them on their toes. If you don't, they will tune out. For a group of audience members, the speech may be very exciting, very interesting, very truly motivating. But there may be another section that may not evince an interest in the speech. So in order for all the audience members to be really motivated, occasionally the speaker can engage the audience members by throwing a question or two and getting a response. In this way, you can just keep them alert, awake, and on their toes. That's a good practice.
But Dr. George, do you think when we engage with the audience and keep the session interactive, it takes away from our time? If we are allotted some time, doesn't it waste some of the time in that?
Yeah, therefore you should limit your questions, for example, to, let's say, 3 or 4. And the question should also be very carefully framed. Do not, never ever go in for open-ended questions. Simply put yes or no questions. So how many of you in this hall would like to listen to music? Have a show of hands. And certainly all the audience members will raise their hands. That's okay. The purpose is just to make sure that all the audience members are really attentive, listening to the speaker. We don't want to lose the audience members. That's the purpose. So you can limit the number of questions to 3 or 4.
Right. Well, that concludes our session on how to deliver an effective motivational speech. Thank you, Dr. George and Dr. Pierre, for joining us and for educating the audience in delivering their motivational speech. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was indeed a great opportunity being part of this wonderful talk show. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.